As the Resolute plunged into the storm, the ship's hull groaned under the immense gravitational pressures, and the energy shields flickered as they fought against the fluctuating waves of dark matter. Inside the ship, the crew worked furiously, adjusting shield harmonics, recalibrating the stabilizers, navigating through space that no longer obeyed the laws of physics. The storm raged around them, the very fabric of reality bending and twisting, but the Resolute pressed on. At the core of the storm, where space itself seemed to unravel, Nova and his crew deployed the stabilizers. The devices, designed using a combination of human ingenuity and alien quantum theory, anchored themselves to the space-time fabric, emitting pulses of energy that counteracted the dark matter waves. It was a long shot, an audacious gamble against forces beyond comprehension. But it worked. Slowly, the storm began to subside. The gravitational anomalies weakened, the space-time distortions stabilized, and the dark matter waves dissipated. The galaxy was saved from annihilation, but more than that, it had been saved by a species that no one had expected to survive. In the aftermath, the ascendant races were forced to confront a new reality. The Zenkar, the Telkran, and the Silvari had always seen themselves as the guardians of the galaxy's future, the rightful rulers of the stars. But in the face of the Shatterstorm, it had been humanity's boldness, their adaptability, and their indomitable will that had turned the tide. Humanity had proven that they were more than just a fleeting race, destined to fade away like so many before them. They were something new, something the galaxy hadn't seen in eons, a species unbound by tradition, driven not by ancient knowledge, but by the desire to forge their own path. They weren't the most advanced or the most powerful, but they were the most determined, and in a galaxy where even the gods could falter, that was enough. The ascendant races, for all their pride and power, found themselves humbled. The Zenkar opened diplomatic channels with the Terran Alliance, seeking to understand the minds of these resilient creatures. The Telkran, once dismissive of humanity's biological imperfections, began studying human adaptability, hoping to incorporate it into their own genetic designs. And the Silvari, so reliant on logic and efficiency, found themselves intrigued by the unpredictable nature of human decision-making. In time, humanity's influence grew, not through conquest or domination, but through cooperation, through their ability to unite the galaxy's younger species in common cause. The Terran Alliance became a beacon of hope in a galaxy that had long forgotten what it meant to fight for survival, to defy the odds, and to forge a future from the embers of the past. Humanity had faced the storm, and in doing so, they had proven that they were not just another species destined to be forgotten by the stars. In the midst of this catastrophe, humanity stood at a crossroads. Their technology was nowhere near the sophistication of the ascended races, and many believed they stood no chance of survival. Yet, unlike the elder powers, humanity did not retreat. They did not rely on ancient knowledge or fixed methods. Instead, they adapted. Earth's colonies, scattered across the stars, were the first to act. Engineers, scientists, and military leaders worked together, fusing every scrap of technology and knowledge they had to devise new ways to counter the gravitational storms. They experimented with hybrid technologies, combining human ingenuity with fragments of alien tech scavenged from ruins left behind by ancient civilizations. They developed gravity shields, capable of withstanding the distortions that tore through the galaxy. They built warp jump drives that could navigate through the turbulent space-time currents. Most importantly, humanity did what the ascended races had forgotten how to do. They united. The Terran Coalition, which had once been a loose alliance of squabbling nations and colonies, came together under a single banner. Old rivalries were set aside, replaced by a singular focus: survival. In the wake of the Great Collapse, the ascended races withdrew into their safe havens, fortifying their home systems, content to ride out the storm in isolation. But humanity ventured into the chaos. Where others saw a galaxy in ruin, humans saw potential. They began rescue missions, saving countless species stranded in the gravitational upheavals. They forged alliances with younger races who had been abandoned by the elder powers. And in doing so, they built something new, an interspecies alliance grounded not in superiority, but in cooperation and shared resilience. The The defining moment came when humanity, with its coalition of allied species, discovered the source of the Great Collapse. Deep within the core of the galaxy, hidden in a pocket of twisted spacetime, lay an ancient artifact, a machine older than the ascended races themselves. The device, known as the Celestial Forge, was a remnant of a long-forgotten race that had once sought to manipulate the very fabric of the universe. It had malfunctioned, its reality-warping energies spiraling out of control and causing the collapse. The ascended races, in their arrogance, had believed the forge to be beyond their need or comprehension. They had ignored its warnings, content in their belief that they had transcended the need for such crude technologies. But humanity saw it differently. They understood that the forge represented both danger and opportunity, a chance not only to halt the collapse, but to reshape the future of the galaxy. Captain Zara Kovacs, leader of the Terran Coalition's flagship Resolute, led the daring mission to reach the forge. Her crew, a mix of humans and alien allies, navigated through the twisted space-time distortions, using every trick they had learned from surviving the collapse. They were not the most advanced, but they were the most determined. When they finally reached the forge, it became clear that the device could not simply be turned off. Its systems were too ancient, too alien to be fully understood. Instead, Kovacs and her team made a bold decision. They would interface with the forge, using their hybrid human-alien technology to stabilize its energy output. It was a gamble, a high-risk maneuver that could either save the galaxy or destroy it entirely. As the crew worked, the forge responded, its energies fluctuating wildly. The gravitational storms intensified, threatening to tear the Resolute apart. But humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their technology. It was in their willingness to take risks, to push beyond the limits of what seemed possible. They had been forged in struggle, and they were not about to give up now. In the final moments, Captain Kovacs activated the forge's stabilizer, using the energy signatures of her own ship to recalibrate the device. The forge pulsed, sending a wave of energy rippling through the galaxy. The gravitational storms ceased. Space-time, once fractured and chaotic, began to heal. The Great Collapse was over. Humanity had done what the ascended races could not. They had faced the impossible and emerged victorious, not through superior power, but through adaptability, resilience, and unity. The ascended races, long thought to be the masters of the galaxy, were forced to reckon with the fact that they were no longer alone at the top. Humanity, once insignificant and ignored, had changed the course of galactic history. In the aftermath, the Terran Coalition became a symbol of hope. The galaxy had been scarred, but it had survived, and in its survival, a new era began, one not ruled by the complacent and ancient ascended races, but shaped by those who had fought for it. Humanity, with its allies, forged a new path forward. The ascended races, for all their power, had been brought low by their own arrogance. But in their defeat, they found something they had long forgotten: the need to grow, to learn, and to adapt. And in humanity, they saw a species that embodied the very traits they had once revered. The galaxy would never be the same, and humanity, once forged in the void, now stood as its brightest flame. For the first time in eons, the stars were not just the dominion of gods, but of those who dared to challenge them.